Scandal in the Real Madrid-Atletico Madrid match. Such a mess in the Champions League we have not seen yet. Kylian Mbappe has become the favorite for the Golden Ball, and Jurgen Klopp will become the new coach of Juventus, who is planning to buy Red Bull. We are discussing this and more today. Friends, this is a dose of football, so charge your royal likes so that we can work without days off. Well, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. When the Sheikhs bought it, everyone joked about buying Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, well, and some quite seriously expected similar tricks in the performance of the 40 owners. Reality, of course, turned out to be more boring and pragmatic. After the invitation of Eddie Howe and the transfers of ambitious young players like Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak and others, the 40 became a real force. And now everyone in the top of the APL has to reckon with them. However, due to the unreal growth of complexity in the APL, Newcastle has not been able to play stably in the Euro Cups, although in any other league it would always be in the Champions League zone. But in the near future, Jordi plans to make a mark in the Euro Cups and start winning trophies. Newcastle United is launching Project 2030, a 5-year program according to the publication. According to the plan, the club should become a leading force in English and European football. That's why this summer, Jordi is determined not only to keep all the leaders in the team, but also to sign several strong players as a foundation. Eddie Howe is viewed as a long-term specialist and will remain in his position. Right now, all of Soroka's thoughts are about the League Cup final against Liverpool. The club believes that winning the first trophy will be a huge step towards consistently taking cups. Just like a new chapter in Manchester City's history began with the English Cup title. In A, the red neighbour, Newcastle United, took the idea of building a new stadium, just like in the case of Manchester United, a new arena. They are digging up part of the land that is now occupied by the club's home, St. James Park. The capacity of the new stadium will be around 70,000 people, and such a luxury will cost £1.5 billion. The club plans to rejuvenate the squad this summer, with sports director Paul Mitchell receiving the necessary directives. The last important point of the program is reduction and even complete elimination of the income gap between Newcastle and the traditional Big Six. Over the past year, the Magpies have raised £320 million, while even Tottenham, with the most modest indicator of the Big Six, has £539 million. Because of the economy, the Geordies can't afford to just take and stock up on world football stars, despite the desire. Sheikhs. But as soon as Newcastle starts raising as much as the fattest clubs in the country, then 40 will go at once to the entire Saudi machine. Milan Sergio Conceicao does not impress, as Conceicau's rossoneri have dropped to the 9th line of Serie A, below Lazio, Bologna and Fiorentina. I'm not even talking about the stable participants of the Champions League, just like about Roma with the magician Claudio Ranieri. Milan was knocked out of the Champions League by Feyenoord in a crisis. The game went poorly for the Rotterdam team, with half their squad ending up in the infirmary. And yet they still made it through the Devils. Inter smashed even the recovered Feyenoord so easily, as if they didn't even try, as if they specifically wanted to humiliate their neighbor. Before the match with Lecce, Milan had 3 consecutive losses, and could have had a 4th if it weren't for Pulisic's magic. Anyway, no matter how you look at it, Ken Saitzao is failing for now. La Gazzetta dello Sport reports that the club plans to replace Conceição with Max Allegri, offering the Italian €5 million per season. Max has significant Serie A and Euro Cup experience, but tactically, the replacement is not ideal. Conceição and Allegri have very similar playing styles. Emphasis on simplicity, compactness, aggressive fight and selections. Can Max get more out of the current squad than his Portuguese colleague? I think more likely yes than no. Allegri still manages to deliver results even in stressful conditions and amidst chaos. Moreover, Max is highly motivated to show that his retirement came too soon. There is also an alternative. Allegri ex-forward Rosoneria, Antonio Cassano, stated that Milan might invite Antonio Conte due to the appointment of sports director Fabio Paratici. Conte is the main choice, Allegri is the alternative. These are the names that will be considered if they take Paratici. If they really invite him, he will bring Conte, because they have a very good relationship. Let's see if Antonio can leave Napoli. In another case, Allegri will come, considering how Napoli got around Conte. In the winter transfer window, leaving without reinforcement despite the fight for Scudetto, Antonio will probably try to slip further away from Aurelio De Laurentiis. After the match with Paris Saint-Germain, Virgil van Dijk was noticed having a nice chat with the president of Paris, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, and the club's advisor, Luis Campos. It is suspected that Van Dijk was talking about a likely transfer to the State of Princes. However, the publication explains that in fact, Virgil approached Campos to apologize for his sharp drop in the break of the first match. In the tunnel, the Reds captain aggressively confronted Campos about the lack of a penalty during the brawl. Van Dijk also said, "What Parisians are young men," praising their classy football. Van Dijk says he hasn't decided anything about his future yet. My future? At the moment, I have no idea what will happen. Negotiations have not stopped. With 10 games left in the season, I'm solely focused on them. If there's news, you'll know, as I don't even know what will happen. If someone says they know, they're lying to your face. As per journalist Graham Bailey, Bayern and Real Madrid are also keen on Van Dijk along with Liverpool. No surprise the Dutchman would be a key player for any club. In my memory, he's the best central defender in the world. Despite the fact that centre-back will be 34 in July, he's in top form. He can still perform at the highest level for another year or two, but could retire now if he wanted. Al Hilal has offered the defender a contract worth more than 20 million euros a year. Don't you find it a bit modest? Usually, players of this level are showered with much more by the Saudis. Is this some kind of discount? As Van Dijk is a defender, it appears unjust. If I were him, I'd remain with Liverpool. But in a year or two, if desired, you can already go to the East. Arsenal keeps nearing the Premier League title each year but falls short of winning it. It seemed that this season there was finally a real chance, as Manchester City had their worst season in years. But the Gunners missed such an opportunity. Of course, there is still a theoretical chance of catching up with the Reds, but I would rather believe in PSV's comeback in response to the match with Arsenal. In general, Puskari failed again. Is Mikel Arteta to blame for this? Partially yes. But what seemed to be lacking more was the squad depth in the conditions of injuries, and the stunning season of Liverpool's slot, from which no one expected such success. So it's unlikely that it's worth blaming the coach Puskari. Nevertheless, Fabrizio Romano gave everyone an insight. At Arsenal, Arteta is a crucial part of the project, and there are no plans to dismiss him. We thought Romano made friends. What other news do you have? They likely won't remove the slots either. Let's move on to more interesting and actually substantive insights from the AES publication. Sports director Andrea Berta, whom Arsenal is due to appoint soon, is already working on a couple of deals. Berta is planning to bring Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle United and Martin Subimendi from Real Sociedad to London. Soroki agrees to let Bruno go for £60 million if they don't make it to the Champions League at the end of the season. They simply won't have a choice, otherwise Brazil will start putting a lot of pressure on the management. Subimendi previously turned down Liverpool, but it seems he has realized his mistake and is now ready to move to the Premier League. Having watched Sociedad's dismal performance this season, zero judgment, total understanding. I would have preferred Martin to join Liverpool last year. However, that might have hindered the remarkable transformation of Ryan Gravenberg. Andrea Agnelli had to leave Juventus due to pressure from the Serie A leadership and a continuing ban for capital growth. Now the team is owned by John Elkann through the family company Exor, and Agnelli has kind of stepped away from the business. He mainly lives in Amsterdam and only comes to Italy for a few days a month. The businessman, in addition to his company, is involved with the Unifa League, that is the Super League. In Turin, Agnelli returns to the forefront for Juventus. Agnelli doesn't miss a single match of Bianconeri and suffers greatly from team problems. Andre is so saddened to see the current state of the club that he decided to restore the old glory of the Signor himself. Agnelli is planning a comeback to Juventus, albeit not as a president, but in the role of an owner. He has a warm relationship with John Elkann, which could help him negotiate. According to La Stampa, Agnelli wants to get rid of the current owner and buy the club together with a third-party investor. Agnelli has a couple of options. For example, a cryptocurrency giant who recently bought about 8% of Venta shares, just before the downfall of Oni due to the club's exit from the Champions League. They also say that he has long wanted to buy a team in Serie A. And together with Agnelli, the company has a great chance to acquire one of the greatest clubs in the history of Italian football. Ban Agnelli will expire in November this year. But if Andro returns to the club solely as an owner and does not perform the functions of a president, then he will not have to go through disqualification. He can manage Juventus even right now. Andro Agnelli's desire to own Juventus can help the Bulls fulfill their long-held dream of having a team in Italy. As the publication notes, this is potentially a very beneficial deal, and it's not about football at all. The company intends to work more actively with the Italian market, and the purchase of Juve can greatly help BK. As the source notes, Anel has been in negotiations for several months now. If Andres successfully negotiates with the company, Exor and John Elkann, the current Juventus owners, significant changes can be expected at the club. Anjeli already has a candidate for the head coach position for such a scenario. Next is Jurgen Klopp, a worker of the Starin system. Klopp promised not to coach in the APL anymore. As for Italy, he didn't say anything, he's already quite rested. In the German national team, they are more than satisfied with Julian Nagelsmann, so why not head Juve? I'll look into this. The Turin team will need to update the squad, but they are currently busy with it. The arrival can financially help Juve deal with debts and be more active in the market. In my opinion, Jurgen is one of the best coaches in the world for restructuring, patient, doesn't panic when there are no results, and works very well with the youth. Access to the system will allow Buoncanere to only stock up on talented and productive youth trained in gegenpressing. Such guys will immediately fit into Klopp's team year after year, and Juventus are waiting for great things. Well, we are waiting, like Anjeli buying Juventus and the subsequent appointment of Klopp. Great game by Paris Saint-Germain, including personally Anonu Mendesha, and Liverpool's exit from the Champions League brought adjustments in the fight for the Golden Ball. In a year without major national tournaments, the victory of the Wolf is almost not a mandatory factor for owning the Best Footballer award. Salah flew by, and now happiness spins in the hands of a stunned cube, with exceptions to any rule. For example, in the 23rd year, Cristiano Ronaldo was left without team trophies, but he scored 69 goals in a year and took the Golden Ball. And Lionel Messi won the trophy in 2012, even though Barca only won the America's Cup. However, the Golden Ball layouts have changed significantly this year. After Liverpool's exit, Kylian Mbappe immediately became the favorite with a coefficient of 3. Salah moved to the second position, he is already given 75. Rafinha came in third. You can bet on his victory in the Golden Ball with a coefficient of 4. Legendary Thierry Henry considers Rafinha the favorite in the race. He's at the top. In my opinion, Rafinha is leading in the fight for the Golden Ball. He scored 11 goals in the Champions League. What Rafinha does besides defense and pressing, when you have a full-fledged forward, you need to be able to press, defend, help the fullbacks. You need to do a lot, and Rafinha does it all. However, Rafinha can disrupt the high hopes of the top contenders for the award. A similar situation happened last year with Vinicius, when Bellingham and Carvajal became obstacles in the Brazilians' path to the trophy. And a portion of Rafinha's votes will be taken by the unlikely Jamal Pedri. Atletico went straight for Real from the start, with Conor Gallagher scoring just 19 seconds in. For some reason, they immediately backed off the high press, leaving Gallagher all alone on his half. Raul Asensio was frantically gesturing at Conor as the defender couldn't escape Julian Alvarez. Ultimately, the Merengues' mistake was costly. Conor initiated the attack and finished it off after receiving a through ball. Atletico came out in an extremely defensive formation, and their tight 4-4-2 without a single mistake left Real Madrid without chances. In the first half, Madrid tried to get to Mbappe and Vinicius with long balls to bypass the dense half defense of the mattress makers. Honestly, it was mediocre. Real was lost, with players making frequent mistakes and losing concentration. Moreover, such moments happened in the second half as well, although the game became a bit more balanced, but Atletico still looked better. Raul was fortunate not to miss, but so was Atletico. Kylian Mbappe won a penalty. Vinicius approached the spot and sent the ball somewhere into space. Astronomers confirmed that it landed on the moon right next to Sergio Ramos's ball, launched in 2012. In the Champions League semi-final against Bayern, Vinicius had his worst Champions League match in recent years. Mbappe was intercepting balls, pressing and fighting, while Vini was passive. His performances in crucial games won't earn him any awards. The midfielders played almost perfectly. They limited Real, pushed them to the flanks, and there the wingers ate up the flank defenders. Compactness, discipline, pace control, Semyon's top match was well prepared. Real proved stronger in the penalty shootout, all because Atletico's Julian Alvarez had his goal disallowed. Why? It was because of the second touch. Probably it was there, but so weak that no matter how many times I reviewed the replays, I couldn't see it. The ball's trajectory didn't reflect it. At first they counted the ball, and then they cancelled it. Can you imagine the pressure on the players who are being beaten? The teams were put at a disadvantage because of the referee's mistake. This doesn't even consider the cancellation, which I believe is a very questionable decision. It's illogical, arbitrary, and possibly resulted from the rules. Despite many claims that Alvarez's goal was unfairly disallowed, no one saw a double touch. Cancelling the goal after it was counted is even more absurd and completely nonsensical. It's very upsetting that in situations with the goalkeeper coming off the line during a penalty, video assistant referee overrules, but here they simply don't count it. I congratulate Real on advancing and sympathize with Atletico fans. Review of the match, yes, and all the other Champions League matches. And a repeat of the scandalous moment, similar to which I have not seen yet, you will find on our TV. I'll leave the link in the video description and pinned comment. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and subscribing. I'm Kirill Kasta, and this was your daily dose of football. Peace to your house and its inhabitants, friends.